Hello everyone, myself Priscilla. This is a new initiative brought to you by Transform IAS Academy. In this we will be detailing the current affairs on a daily basis related to UPSC and KPSC exams. So let's get started for 26-2018 the Hindu analysis. So the first news item here we have is Air India privatization plan has been shelved. So the government had a plan of privatizing the Air India, which the central government had decided by inviting a bid process in March 2018. So in this bidding process, the government had actually offered to sell 76% of its stake in Air India and 50% of the share low-cost subsidiary Air India Express in the ground handling arm AISATS as a single entity. So even if you have to understand what would be the reasons for it, the first reason is that there is a huge debt and liability which accounts for approximately 33,000 crores. And second, the government continuation with the ownership. Third, the flights are routinely delayed, equipment is old and the service is too poor. And the airline has also become a platform where the politicians and officials are enjoying the perk of the office and the obligations and the benefits issued related to the permanent and contractual employee. So these would be the main reasons why even the central government has decided to privatize the Air India. But the present news is that now the central government has decided to postpone the plan of disinvestment of Air India. So why is they even have to delay this disinvestment process is because of the rising fuel prices, and secondly the government has not received any bids so far. So right now, since it's not been happened the way it has to happen, there is a plan of action to revive of Air India, which include they want to improve the efficiency by bringing the private people to work within the airline, the first point. Secondly, they want to cut down the cost. So if they cut down the cost and they inbuild more people from the private sectors, which means that they would be able to at least come out the situation which is being faced by the Air India right now. So this is about the first news. And second we have is Keralites face highest risk of cardiovascular diseases, finds the study. So you have the disease which is prevailing, the cardiovascular diseases. There was a recent survey which had taken up, and it is a variations in the average of 10-year risk of the fatal and non-fatal cardiovascular disease event among the states and the gender. So as per the study, it is being led by the researchers at Public Health Foundation of India and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, and studies based on the district level household survey 4 and also on the annual health survey data. So here we have the coverage of the surveys that out of 29 states, 27 states has been covered, and out of 7 union territories, the 5 union territories were covered as per the survey. So as per this survey, the Kerala has the highest risk of almost 19.5% across the sexes, and there is a gender breakdown, however, puts the women of Goa at high risk. So here we had Kerala, which is being the higher risk, and when we have to break up in terms of genders, the women of Goa are at a higher risk when it comes to cardiovascular, which almost like 16.73%, while men in Himachal Pradesh and Nagaland were most vulnerable with mean cardiovascular risk of 24.23%. And apart from that, adults in urban areas tends to have a greater cardiovascular risk, and people living in urban areas in Kerala with 19.90% has the highest mean risk, followed by West Bengal with 19.12% and Himachal Pradesh by 18.97%. But here again we have the Goa has a higher mean value in rural areas with almost like 18.92% than the urban areas with 18.79%. So we have in Kerala the difference between the highest mean risk in rural and urban is almost like 19.23% in rural and 19.90% in urban. And even if you have to understand what would be the reasons for such an cardiovascular diseases, the first and foremost, there is a poorer households and rural areas, smoking is more prevalent because of the pollutions and other lifestyles to what they have been adopted. And the wealthy households and urban locations face the risk from high body mass index, first one, second high blood glucose and high systolic blood pressure. So these would be the main reasons for the increase in the cardiovascular diseases in the several places as per this survey. And here you have the details, the states of risk. So the mapping is being done out here, and risk in rural areas is for rural, wherein the blue coverage is for the urban. And the next news item, India stands for a multipolar order. So here polarity is nothing but an international relations in any of the various ways in which the power is distributed within the international system. So it is actually describes the nature of international system at any given period of time. So one generally distinguishes the three types of systems. One is uni, bi and multipolarity for four or more centers of power. So according to the President Ramnath Kovind, India is committed to an international order marked by robust, rule-based multilateral institutions, by multipolarity in international governance, and by investments and connectivity projects that are viable and sustainable. And apart from that, he also emphasized upon, that's the president also emphasized upon, maintaining a multilateral commitments, which indicates that India is keen to maintain a non-aligned attitude against the major power blocs in the world. And sidely, the president was also speaking about the Hellenic Foundation for European and Foreign Policy in Athens. And we also have Mr. President urged Europe to join hands with India, which is a responsible power, to preserve the globalizations. And the speech also highlighted the syncretic connections between the European and Indian traditions of art, politics and the state formations. And he also describes the Greece and India as a sister civilizations who have been a part of the larger family of humanity, as exemplified in the Indian notion of Vasudhaivika Kutumbakam. So this is about the multipolar order. The next news item, PSU bank deposits safe, says Goyal. So recently RBI seeks more power, such as the ability to appoint and dismiss the heads of the PSB, that the public sector banks, in its reply to Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance. So in its response, the Minister of Finance said that the government is open to the idea to provide more powers to RBI to effectively regulate and manage the public sector banks. And Mr. Goyal also informed that the PSBs has come up with a plan to take up the credit needs of the genuine, and we have the deserving, well-performing and good companies to be a more deserving credit areas which can be worked on. And in the first stage, the PSBs will assess the needs of the firms with borrowings between 200 crores to 2000 crores. And in the second stage, they will take up the accounts with the borrowings of up to 200 crores, which would cover the MSMEs, that's a medium small enterprises. The next news item, India to defend the GSP benefits at USTR. So GSP program is that India is trying to actually defend its eligibility for the benefits under the GSP program. GSP is nothing but the generalized system of preferences, and USTR is United States Trade Representative, is reviewing India's eligibility under the program after the complaints from bodies representing the dairy and the medical device industries. And USTR has accused India of implementing a wide array of trade barriers that create a serious negative aspects or the effects on the US commerce. And GSP program provides for a duty-free treatment of designated articles when imported from beneficiary developing countries to America. And this has also put the exports, the worth of almost like $5 billion annually of 1,937 products from India at stake. So now we have to understand what would be the India's stand on these particular issues. First and foremost, a brief information on the dairy products. So India imports the dairy products from countries such as Australia and Switzerland. India will tell the USTR that it is not a question of market access but about the certification. So India is trying to justify that it's not having a question of the market access, but it wants to be certified. If several countries can meet the certification requirement, why can't the US? And India requires that the dairy products be delivered from the animals which have never consumed any feeds containing the internal organs, the blood meal or tissues of any other origins. That's a very important demand or requirement what India has been putting forth. And on the medical devices is that submission said that the country with India is committed to provide its citizens equitable, affordable access to essential medicines and medical devices. So this is about the GSP program. And the next news item is India's pivot to Eurasia. So it's actually Mr. S. Raghavan, the convener of the National Security Advisory Board, expressed his views on new Eurasian dynamics transformation with an inevitable impact on SCO. First and foremost, you should understand what would be SCO. So SCO and its importance are here. So it's a Shanghai Cooperation Organization, grew out at the Shanghai 5 groupings, which is the Russia, China, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and we have the SCO is a Eurasian political, economic and a security organization. And the creation of SCO was announced on 15 June 2001 in Shanghai, which is in China. And originally there are 6 nations with the exceptions of Uzbekistan, where previous members were only 5 group, and in 26th April 1996 in Shanghai. But over the time in 2001, the Uzbekistan had actually been admitted into SCO and rechristened itself to Shanghai Cooperation Organization and broadened its agenda to include political, economic, security cooperation. And apart from that, India and Pakistan joined the SCO as a full members on June 2017 at a summit at Astana, Kazakhstan. And SCO now has about half of the world's population and a quarter of its GDP. If you see, this is about the background of SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Right now it has half of the world's population and quarter of its GDP, which has 6 members, and over the time India and Pakistan also have been joined the group. And now it is often dubbed as an alliance of Asia because due to its growing importance and centrality in the Asian continent, and it is also one of the world's strongest military alliance and the largest regional organization in economic and political influence. An SCO summit was held recently in China, and the admission of India and Pakistan and expanded the geographical, demographic, economic profile of the SCO, which has brought about like half of the world's population and quarter of the GDP. So this statement of half of the world's population and quarter of GDP has been associated with the admission of India and Pakistan, which has actually expanded the geographical, demographic and the economic profile of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So what would be the relevance for India on the SCOs? So first and foremost, the SCO's relevance for India lies in its geographical, economic and geopolitical stuffs. Secondly, its members occupy a huge landmass adjacent to India's extended neighborhood, where India has important economic and security interest. With Pakistan joining the organization, and Afghanistan and Iran are also looking forward to become the member, and the logic of India's membership becomes stronger. And in the informative years of SCO, Russia strongly pushed India to join it to balance China's economic dominance in that particular region. And China since consolidated its energies, economic foothold in Central Asia, where the ambitious infrastructure and connectivity projects are envisaged as part of its Belt and Road Initiative. So this would be the relevances for India with all the above points mentioned. And here we have the India and Central Asia. What will be the connections? So Central Asia consists of actually 5 Pakistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, collectively known as Central Asian Republic and underbelly of Eurasia. So geographic location of these countries makes them a bridge between different regions of Asia and between the Europe and Asia as well. And India's ties with the Central Asian countries has been in challenge since the break of the Soviet Union due to its inaccessibility caused by Pakistan and Afghanistan troubles, right? And now we have like a new multimodal transport corridors now envisaged through Iran. There are again prospects of invigorating trade and investment lines with this particular regions. As per Russia, India, Pakistan would be able to solve their disputes as did the China, Russia and other SCO members. And apart from that, India can also be benefited by the regional anti-terrorist structures of the SCO, which coordinates the cooperation for security and stability through intelligence sharing on criminal and terrorist activities. The defense cooperation between the members will be strengthened. India has agreed to participate in the SCO's counter-terrorism military exercise in Russia. So India has also welcomed the agreement to participate in SCO's counter-terrorism military exercises with Russia. And Russia and China also carefully avoid strong anti-West postures in the SCO, preferring to deal with differences quietly and bilaterally. So this is the strong side of Russia and China. And if you have to talk about the challenges pertaining to it, first and foremost, the cooperation between India and Pakistan will remain a challenge in various areas such as defense, anti-terrorism and Afghanistan. So this would be a part of it. And increase in dominance of China may happen if US tries to isolate Russia, and Russian dependence will increase further on the Chinese economic powers. Another important situation is that when the US military presence may decrease in the region if the North Korea and the US peace progress gets fruitfully may change the balance of forces in favor of China. So these would be the challenges with pertaining to the SEOs, right? So that is what the news item here we had about the headlines. It's about India's pivot on to Eurasia. So this is for 26/2018. Thank you.